You've probably never heard a doctor say this out loud, but here it is. If you're taking antibiotics to cure the flu, you're doing it all wrong, and you might be fueling one of today's biggest public health threats. Sounds extreme? That's because no one's had the guts to explain what's really behind influenza, vaccination, and the winter panic that sweeps through the population every year. But today, that changes. You're about to uncover what truly works versus what only seems to. We'll bust dangerous myths, reveal hidden truths, and hand you the kind of insight that even many professionals still overlook. If you've ever had questions about transmission, symptoms, prevention, complications, or treatment, buckle up. This video will change the way you deal with the flu, for good. Every winter, it seems like an old enemy comes knocking, the flu. But what most people don't realize is that behind this casual name hides influenza, a serious viral infection that's often brushed off. Unlike the vague term flu, influenza has a full name, a nasty track record, and the ability to spark global pandemics. There are 4 types. Type A is the most severe. Type B targets kids and teens. Type C is typically mild, and Type D, thankfully, doesn't affect humans. When someone's knocked down with a fever, body aches, and chills, odds are it's this exact virus at work. Now, let's ask the obvious. Why do so many still misunderstand something so common? The problem lies in persistent myths. One of the biggest, that the flu vaccine causes the illness itself. In reality, vaccination is our most effective prevention method. It trains your immune system without making you sick. And it's not one and done. The vaccine changes annually because influenza loves to mutate. You'll find trivalent, quadrivalent, and even boosted formulas for seniors. And if you think young, healthy folks don't need it, think again. That belief endangers vulnerable people around them. Influenza transmission is sneaky fast. A cough on the subway, a sneeze in the office, a doorknob at the grocery store, it spreads like wildfire. Crowded places like schools and markets are prime zones if we're not careful. That's why washing your hands, airing out rooms, avoiding packed spaces, and covering your mouth when coughing matters so much. In the US, these habits are widely promoted, but not always followed. Sometimes, just staying home for 2 days can prevent dozens of infections, especially in the elderly, pregnant women, and people with chronic health conditions. And speaking of vulnerable groups, let's talk symptoms and complications. High fever, muscle pain, dry cough, fatigue, nausea, and even ear infections can show up early. But for people with weak immune systems, things can go downhill fast, leading to pneumonia, respiratory failure, or lengthy hospital stays. The worst part? People often wait too long to seek help. If you're experiencing shortness of breath, ongoing fever, or mental confusion, stop everything and go see a doctor. If this content is opening your eyes, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment below. Your voice helps spread this life-saving info. When symptoms hit, high fever, dry cough, body aches, many people rush to the pharmacy thinking antibiotics are the answer. But here's the truth most don't say out loud. Antibiotics don't treat viruses. And yes, influenza is a virus. Misusing antibiotics not only does nothing in this case, but it also fuels antibiotic resistance, a serious public health issue across the United States. Unless you've been diagnosed with a secondary bacterial infection, taking antibiotics, just in case, is like using a cannon to kill a mosquito, reckless and useless. That's why proper diagnosis makes all the difference. Rapid tests and PCRs can confirm influenza within hours, opening the door for timely treatment. Here's something not everyone knows. There's an antiviral called oseltamivir that, if taken within the first 48 hours, can shorten the illness and prevent complications, especially for high-risk groups like seniors, diabetics, or people with heart and lung conditions. So, at the first sign, get medical attention and demand a proper test. Don't settle for a guess. Now, if your case is mild, that doesn't mean you can just shrug it off. Rest is non-negotiable. And no, that doesn't mean answering emails from the couch. It means real rest, paired with hydration, light nutritious meals, and if needed, over-the-counter meds like acetaminophen to ease the symptoms. Avoid self-medicating and please, don't take that leftover antibiotic from last winter. Treat your body like a classic car you want to keep running smooth for years, with care and respect. And here's a key point. If you're around seniors, young kids, or immunocompromised folks, your mild flu can turn into their nightmare. Which is why the annual flu vaccine remains the most effective prevention method. Even though the virus mutates, Science stays ahead by updating the vaccine each year. But protecting yourself, and those you care about, still comes down to choice. And if you thought misinformation was the only problem, wait until you see what else needs debunking next. If there's one thing that spreads faster than the influenza virus itself, it's misinformation. One of the most common myths. I got the vaccine and still got sick. What people often miss is that the vaccine isn't a magic shield. It's more like a personal trainer for your immune system. And sometimes, what made you sick wasn't influenza at all. There are dozens of other respiratory viruses circulating in the US, especially during winter. So yes, the vaccine likely worked just fine. It just wasn't the right villain. Another popular one, I'm young and healthy, so I don't need the shot. Nope. Not even close. Getting vaccinated while you're healthy helps stop the transmission chain and protects those who are vulnerable, like seniors, people with chronic diseases, and infants. This is herd immunity in action. When you take care of yourself, you protect others too. In a world flooded with viral misinformation, being part of the solution takes both awareness and action. And really, you don't want to be that person who gave grandma the flu at Christmas, do you? We also need to clear up the confusion around treatment. Popping antibiotics, just in case, is still one of the biggest mistakes out there. They're only helpful when there's a proven bacterial infection. Otherwise, rest, fluids, and fever reducers are all you need. That's it. The real danger lies in guessing your way through an illness, swallowing pills without understanding what you're fighting. It's like painting over a moldy wall. It might look better for a while, but the damage is still festering underneath. And here's the kicker. Most people don't recognize when it's time to get medical help. Persistent fever, shortness of breath, mental confusion, and dehydration, these aren't symptoms to tough out. They're red flags. Across the U.S., healthcare services are equipped to spot and treat complications from influenza, but that only works if you show up in time. So let me ask you, why cling to half-truths when knowledge, the right kind, could literally save your life? Now that you know the difference between just treating symptoms and actually taking action, what will you change in your routine? Will you keep believing whatever you hear out there, or will you start questioning and making decisions based on solid facts? The knowledge you've gained here is powerful, but only if you use it. Think about how many flu cases could have been prevented with a quick test, a smarter choice, or even a timely conversation with someone you care about. If this video gave you a new perspective on influenza, share it with someone who needs this wake-up call too. And tell me in the comments, have you ever taken antibiotics without knowing if they were really needed? Have you ever faced a serious complication from what seemed like just the flu? Let's talk about it. Oh, and if you're serious about protecting your health with strategies that actually work, don't leave the channel just yet. Watch Collision 99% Fail, the 2-minute test that reveals if your heart is in danger. Next. It uncovers another silent health risk most people ignore, until it's too late.